Hmm. So, slowly, ladies and gentlemen, mainstream media is catching on to the news in regards to the protests, which is a good thing to see. But one of the things that everyone is really talking about this protest is, can the business model change? Can the model that is run by the Chelsea ownership right now, which is driven by Clearlake, can this model actually change? Hmm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the other side of the corner. Welcome to your latest news. As you can see, there's a headline here which is coming from Football London. We're going to delve deep into it very, very soon. Chelsea fans plan peaceful protest against Clearlake Capital as supporter unrest grows. Now, this is off the back of a tweet from Bobby Vincent, who some of you guys might have seen that he is there in the press conferences. He's one of the mainstream journalist, I would say, no doubt about that. One of the credible Chelsea journalists out there, and is somewhat quite reputable. This is what he had to tweet literally about an hour ago. A group of Chelsea fans are planning to protest against Clearlake Capital and the club's model before the Premier League match versus Southampton next week. I spoke with Chelsea Forum on what is being planned. Now, you guys might be wondering who Chelsea Forum is. So Chelsea Forum is this particular X account, the Chelsea Forum. You can literally go to their page at the Chelsea Forum. I just started following them. The Chelsea Forum, a community where all Chelsea fans call their home. So Bobby Vincent reached out to these guys and they provided an interview and they talked about all the relevant information in regards to the protest. And these guys in recent times have done quite a lot. You'll see the banner which has been created for the protest. As you can see, there's some more information about the protest over here. And I just want to showcase that banner because I was wondering where that banner came from. There you go, the Chelsea Forum, pass it on. As you can see, the banner, 25th February, 6 p.m. outside Bovril Gate. Now, before we get into this article in further details, a lot of people have been talking about changing the model. I want to take a bit of time to talk about this change of model conundrum that we face right now before we delve deeper into that article and what that article is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, let's play this out. Some people are saying the protest should be in regards to changing the model, the business model that we have, which is about bringing in young players, low wages, low transfer fee, and setting them up for a long-term contract and hoping that it all blossom together, develop together, and one day become a supreme team. That is really the model of the ownership that they are trying to promote and trying to carry out at Chelsea Football Club. And obviously, the ultimate goal is that, look, all of these players, they'll gain value over time if they're young. The risk is very little. The risk is minimal because you buy them young. Even if you sell them at the age of 20, 21, 22, they should have good value still, intact on their name. So, look, let's play this out. Some people are saying, let's not get rid of the owners. Let's get them to change the model. Why will they change the model? What makes you think that they are here to change the model? Because if they did change the model, for argument's sake, which they tried, if you guys remember, when Todd Bowley was the director in the first 6 months of the ownership, they bought a whole heap a lot of players that were above 25, some, around 30 or 30 plus. They feel that that type of a bracket holds no value. So they don't see any more player development and they don't see any capital gain from that player and they don't see any book value that is left behind on that player once you're above 25, 26, 27 years old. For them, it's a very, very big matter The fact that the player can hold value throughout the contract period, and by the end of the contract, once they are around the 30-year mark, they want to make sure that the player is worth something. Generally, most players, once they reach that 30 years mark, it's a bit of a risky situation. Some may have good value, some may not. Basically, you're putting it all on hope. Whereas if you're younger, say you were bought at the age of 17 and you start playing for the age of 18 for Chelsea Football Club, even if things don't go your way and you go out on loan, once again, things don't go your way, you can still be sold for a decent amount of price. You're not going to be making a huge loss on these young players. This is why the model is focused on this, because it's less risky. Example, Chasere Cassidy. We bought him for about roughly around 14 million euros or 15 million euros, something like that. And we sold him roughly for that same price. And don't forget, in between, there were some loans. So there would have been some loan fees and there would have been some wages that would have been saved. And on top of that, we've got a 25% sell-on clause attached to Chasere Cassidy if he does get sold down the track, which I've got no doubts he will be. He's showcased that he's a very good player, and down the track, I'm sure Torino will be able to sell him for 30 million, 35 million, 40 million, and Chelsea will bank 25% of that. So you're able to do that on younger players. You can't do that on older players. Older players will warrant more investment. Transfer fee could be expensive. Older players will have higher wages. They're not going to appreciate the 150k wages. They'd want higher. And I'm talking about older players that are experienced. You're not going to buy any older random player that's just going to add no value to your team. You're going to buy an older player that's actually going to bring some value, and those type of players will warrant more wages. And as I said, by doing all of that, there's still no guarantee that you're going to make it to the Champions League or you're going to win titles. So this ownership, when we say change your model, they're looking at older player that's not going to hold their value by the end of their contract or close to coming to an end to their contract. They're going to potentially want more than 150,000 if you're somewhat of a good player. And ultimately, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that you're actually going to win with these players. So this ownership is looking at that and thinking, no, that is too risky for me. So that is something that I don't want to entertain too much. Even though we as a fan base, we feel like have a balance, have some of these players, have some of the younger players, and then go from there. But for them, this model that I've just outlined to you guys, it's too risky. And it's not something that's yielding any return on investment. I think that is the biggest point over here. Buying these sort of players, you're not really going to get any return back. It's simply expense, expense, and expense. And as I said, success is still not guaranteed. So now coming back to the model that they have, younger players, lower wages, lower transfer fee, long-term contract to secure their value, which even if they don't work out, we can sell them for a good amount of money. Kani Chukwuemeka, that's another example that just popped out in my head. They value Chukwuemeka at 40 million. If Chukwuemeka has a really good season at Dortmund, I know it's early days, he's not really featured that much. But if somehow manages to have a very good season, they could potentially get that 40 million. We've done that with several of our other players. Ian Martin, they were able to sell for 35 plus. So this is what they will try and do. Because for them, this is less risky. Because being young and having a long-term contract secures a value. And this doesn't depend on win, lose, or draw. They've completely eliminated the results factor away from this. So they don't have to worry. Whereas with the older players, you better hope you win. Because why else are you making that wild investment then? With the younger players, it doesn't matter. As you can see, We can lose, we can draw, we can win. It has zero impact on that player. We are still able to flip those players for good money because they're younger. Cole Palmer, we're in abysmal form. Cole Palmer is worth a lot of money. Similarly, with a lot of our younger players, Levi Colwell, look how rubbish he's been. I'm telling you, they'll be able to sell him for good money. And the list goes on. The list goes on. So, ladies and gentlemen, this whole idea of change the model, it's completely against this ownership because there is literally zero return on investment on changing the model. So, we as a fan base, ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand. We have to understand that this ownership, if they stick around, they are not in the game of changing the model. They simply are not. Now, let's check this article. Let's go from the top. As I said, the protest news is finally hitting somewhat of a mainstream media, Football.London. These guys are very well known. Chelsea fans plan peaceful protest against Clearlake Capital as supporter unrest grows. Further goes on to say a group of Chelsea supporters are planning to protest against Clearlake Capital, the club's ownership group, ahead of this month's Premier League match with Southampton at Stamford Bridge. The Blues take on the Saints in the Premier League on February 25th, the West Londoners' next home game, and some fans have planned a protest. There is a growing unrest amongst fans with the club's model coming into question. Clearlake Capital, the consortium that bought Chelsea back in May 2022 alongside Todd Bowley and two sporting directors, Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winsley, have come under spotlight in recent weeks. Formerly Twitter account Chelsea Forum are one of the numerous organizers of the planned protest, and Football.London caught up with the group to talk about what is in the works. They said the protest is about change and hopefully causing the owners to have pressure applied on them by their investors as it will hurt their public image. Rightly so. Rightly so. These guys, these organizations, Clearlake, Eldridge, especially Clearlake, ladies and gentlemen, they're a wealth management investment group. Their biggest objective is just get me return on investment. I don't care whether you win, whether you lose, whether you draw, make sure the return on investments are always there. So for these type of institutions, ladies and gentlemen, public image is huge. They don't want to be involved in any type of investment. And you have to understand, Chelsea is a very small component of their portfolio, less than 5%. They don't want to have all of these heartaches if their public image is being tarnished. You tarnish their public image, I'm telling you, they will not stick around for too long. The end game is change the model or sell up. Look, I mean, I can understand this notion. The end game is change the model or sell up. The problem is they will not change the model. They simply will not change the model because this is exactly how they want to operate. And this is exactly how they've operated since the ownership has brought in the directors and since all those transactions of Enzo Fernandez type and Caicedo type, they've disappeared. You guys have to understand, those transactions were done when the amortization was unlimited. We could expense those costs out for 8, 9, 10 years loan contract term. Now the amortization is not like that. And the last summer is an indication that we're not going to be doing that type of business anymore. 1.5 billion spent, and that's it. We've splashed the money, and now we're not going to be doing that level of business anymore. Now it's all about finding these young players and seeing what we can do. This is the whole idea. Also, their terrible treatment of staff, players, and stripping of all the club's former assets. Big statements here. I think all of this is very, very valid. They continued, the protest will be peaceful, one with lots of fans and few banners so that the fans can have their voices heard by the club. As of this moment, the protest will not continue inside the ground. There are already a few hundred fans on board, but we expect these numbers to rise considerably before Monday. We want to highlight what the American ownership is doing to kill football here in the UK, with exploitation and money being their priority. I love it. Absolutely spot on. During Chelsea's defeat to Brighton on Friday evening, there were some chants in the way end of the MX Stadium against the current ownership. Roman Abramovich's name could be heard at some points during the second half from a small minority of those that made the trip down to the South Coast, with fans letting their feelings towards the former owner known. "We want our Chelsea back" could also be heard from Blue supporters just over 2 months after chants of "We've got our Chelsea back," where we're blowing out of the away end at Southampton. Football.London asked head coach Enzo Maresca about the change in stance from the Chelsea fans, and the Italian said, "The reaction is that I think it is everywhere the same in terms of when you win the games, the fans are happy. When you don't win the games, the fans are upset. In this moment, they are completely right to be upset in this moment of the season with the chance we have of bringing this club to where this club has to be. The desire we showed was not enough." So look, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first of many articles, hopefully, that's going to be talking about the protest. And I know for a lot of people, changing the model is an option. And as I said, these owners, ladies and gentlemen, will simply not change the model because it is exactly how they see Chelsea Football Club being run moving forward. They're here for sustainability in terms of profits, and they're here as one of our owners, faces of our ownership has said, Iqbali, that they admire Brighton. They admire exactly how they run, mid-level, mid-tier, mid-table, sustainable profit football club. They absolutely love it. Now, I want to show you this final tweet from Yunus. As you guys all know, Yunus has been talking about this a lot as well for a longer time. And he's been on it from the get-go, along with Minerals. And this is what Yunus had to tweet. I had to share this with you guys. He tweeted something back in December 7th, 2023, where he talks about all of these things need to change. Strategy needs to change, elite managers, players, this, that, the other. Literally, 1.5 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, when he talked about this. And off the back of that, today he just tweeted, "People that are now asking for the model to be changed at Chelsea, the problem me and many others have is we know they won't change. They've shown no signs of changing, hence the outrage and anger now. They made it clear at the start what they wanted to do, and they haven't pivoted whatsoever when it was clear to do so." Because this is the third year, ladies and gentlemen. This is the third season under this ownership. I can't even call it new anymore. Under this ownership, and they've had multiple opportunities to change the model, and they've refused to do so. So what makes you think that they're going to change it in the future? It goes against everything they believe in terms of making money. They made it clear at the start what they wanted to do. They haven't pivoted whatsoever when it was clear to do so. Low wage, low salary, and flipping players for profit is what matters most to them. Hence why now many, including me, want the owners gone. We won't just accept it, sit back and say nothing. The message before was change the model or leave. They didn't want to change when it was needed, so now just leave. All faith and trust is lost in the owners. Blue co out. And I think that message is absolutely apt. We need the owners gone. That is the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. They're not going to be changing no strategy. I don't trust them enough to change and change in the way that we want them to change. They're simply not going to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts about everything that is happening, especially about this change of model. Do you believe these owners can change the model? And if they did, do you trust them to make the right decisions? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Smash up the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Till next time, take care. See ya.